Hello, and welcome to our first chapter in the journey through America's monetary history. I am Ethan, a numismatist and historian, and today we're exploring the fascinating story of early American coinage and currency. In the next 10 minutes, we'll travel back to a time when the money in your pocket wasn't yet standardized, when coins and paper money battled for legitimacy, and when a fledgling nation grappled with how to define value. This is the story of ingenuity, struggle, and the powerful idea of trust. Trust that would eventually build the foundation of U.S. money. Let's begin. In colonial America, there was no one unified currency. Instead, a tapestry of coins and paper circulated at the same time, a situation born of geographic diversity and the necessities of trade. Imagine yourself in a busy colonial port like Boston or Philadelphia. Instead of a standardized dollar, merchants had to rely on a mix of British sterling pieces, Spanish silver dollars, famously known as pieces of 8, and coins from every major European power. The Spanish dollar, with its impressive silver content and widespread circulation across both hemispheres, became the de facto currency in many trading hubs. British coins, though highly regarded for their minting quality back in the mother country, were in short supply here in the New World due to long and uncertain shipping routes. This scarcity meant that colonists often found themselves improvising with whatever money was locally available. Beyond imported coins, many colonies resorted to printing their own notes, so-called bills of credit. These early paper currencies were issued by colonial governments as a way to pay debts and finance local expenditures. However, without a common standard or backing by precious metals, their value was perpetually in question. Each colony's note bore a different promise, a promise that was as variable as the economic fortunes of a region. This lack of standardization sowed confusion among merchants and common folk alike. Imagine the challenge. A merchant in Virginia might accept a Spanish dollar at one price, while another in New York might trade only in British coins or local tokens. In effect, money was as diverse as the people using it, and the constant juggling act had real consequences. Economic transactions became negotiations not just of goods and services, but of trust in each coin's silver content and each paper note's promise. This era was one of both creative adaptation and significant risk. As the United States marched toward independence, a new challenge emerged, financing a war for liberty. In 1775, faced with dwindling funds and an economy unprepared for the demands of revolution, the Continental Congress issued its own paper money, the Continental Currency. The idea was bold. It was meant to finance the struggle against British rule, unify disparate colonial finances, and signal a new beginning for a free nation. Initially, the Continental Currency was a stroke of necessity, a promise of payment backed by the expectations of future American prosperity. But as the war dragged on and the printing presses churned out ever more banknotes, distrust began to creep in. Without a solid foundation of gold or silver backing these notes, inflation took hold. Soon, the phrase "not worth a continental" entered the lexicon, symbolizing the rapid devaluation and consequent economic hardship many colonists experienced. While the devaluation was a harsh lesson, it was not entirely a failure. The Continental Currency experiment provided essential insights into the importance of controlling the money supply and ensuring fiscal discipline. The experience underscored a truth that would shape future monetary policy. A currency must inspire trust if it is to serve as the cornerstone of a national economy. During these tumultuous times, everyday transactions came with a side of skepticism. Families, merchants, and even soldiers found the currency they fought for rapidly losing its luster. Yet, amid the chaos, the idea of establishing a durable, unified currency was born, not out of economic triumph, but through hard-won trial and error. The lessons learned from Continental Currency would eventually pave the way for a more stable and reliable form of money for the new nation. The failures and experiments of the colonial era and the Revolutionary War laid bare one undeniable truth. If America was to stand on its own feet, it needed a currency that everyone could trust. Thus, the idea of a national coinage system began to take shape, culminating in one of the most groundbreaking moves in American financial history, the establishment of the U.S. Mint. In 1792, the U.S. Congress passed the Coinage Act, which not only sanctioned the creation of a federal mint, but also established the foundational principles for American coinage. The new system was built on the promise of excellence and reliability. Under the Coinage Act, coins were to be minted according to strict standards of weight and metal content. Gold, silver, and copper were to serve as the bedrock of value, a tangible link between the coin in your pocket and the precious metals that had long been cherished as stores of wealth. One of the first coins produced was the famous flowing hair dollar, a piece that, though simple in design, captured the essence of a young nation finding its identity. This coin, among others later known as the Draped Bust series, wasn't merely a medium of exchange, it was a canvas for national symbolism. Allegorical motifs and intricate details conveyed ideas of liberty, unity, and justice. These images were as much a political statement as they were markers of economic value. As the mint began operations in Philadelphia, the very heart of American independence, it quickly became a symbol of national pride. The coins struck at this nascent mint were more than just metal. They were physical embodiments of the ideals that had driven the revolution. They signified a break from the past, a rejection of unreliable and disparate currencies, and a confident step toward a future where money would be standardized, revered, and trusted. Furthermore, the establishment of the U.S. Mint served to link financial policy with emerging national identity. The choice to adhere to rigorous quality standards was a guarantee not just for domestic commerce, but for international trade. By producing coins whose value was embedded in the precious metals they contained, the young nation sent a powerful message to the world. America meant business. This melding of economic necessity and national symbolism would become a recurring theme in the evolution of U.S. money. Consider the transformation this mint signified. Just a short time earlier, people traded in a cacophony of currencies that varied wildly in form and value. Then came the renewed call for unity, a call answered by the steady, measured rhythm of coin presses forging a new kind of money. With each newly minted coin, Congress was not only standardizing commerce, it was also cementing a shared vision of what America could be. The early experiments with money were more than technological or economic endeavors. They were social experiments that left enduring lessons about value, trust, and the interplay between politics and finance. In colonial America, the freedom to print personal banknotes and use an array of coins offered flexibility, but it also came with the risk of fragmentation and rampant inflation. The debacle of the continental currency, with its spiraling devaluation, taught early Americans that a nation's financial stability couldn't rest on promises printed on paper. Instead, it needed something solid, a hard money system that could back a nation's ambitions and dreams with tangible value. This realization played a pivotal role in the eventual embrace of coinage standards aligned with gold, silver, and copper, a practice that cemented America's financial integrity for decades. These early encounters with monetary instability served as cautionary tales for future American financial leaders. They instilled in the nation a cautious respect for the delicate balance between political objectives and economic reliability. The period was marked by audacious experiments that, though imperfect, helped shape a framework where trust would come to underpin every coin struck and every note printed. As we've seen today, the early history of American coin and currency is a story of bold experimentation, hard-earned lessons, and the indomitable spirit of a nation determined to define its own economic destiny. From the patchwork of colonial coins and paper money, to the tumult of continental currency, and finally, to the establishment of a unified system through the U.S. Mint, each phase laid an essential cornerstone for the nation's future financial stability. The legacy of these early days isn't confined to dusty museum cases. It continues to influence modern monetary policy and reminds us of the profound importance of trust and consistency in everything we value. In our next episode, we will move from these foundational experiments to explore how the Industrial Revolution and political changes reshaped American money during the 19th century, the middle era of American coinage. Thank you for joining me on this historical exploration. I hope you're as fascinated as I am by the rich and often turbulent origins of the money that helped shape the United States. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, every coin tells a story. If you enjoyed this deep dive into America's early monetary history, please subscribe, like, and share. And leave a comment below about which early coin or currency intrigues you the most.